All right, let's talk about something that drives every single trader absolutely crazy. You know the feeling. You're in a trade, it's looking good, it pulls back just enough to knock you out at your stop, and then it just blasts off in the direction you knew it would go. It is one of the most frustrating things in trading. Today, we're going to dig into why that happens and, more importantly, how you can fix it for good.
So, let me ask you this. Does that sound familiar? You set your stop loss, you feel pretty good about your trade, and then bam, you're taken out right before it turns into a massive winner. If you're nodding your head right now, you need to stick around because we are about to completely change how you look at this whole thing.
So first up, let's really unpack this incredibly frustrating stop-loss problem. It's a hurdle that honestly trips up so many traders, and it keeps them from getting consistent profits.
Now, let's just be super clear about something. Stop losses and take profits, they're absolutely fundamental. A stop loss is your safety net, right? It's there to protect you, to make sure you only risk what you planned on risking. And the take profit, well, that gives you a clear finish line, a goal to make sure your winners are actually bigger than your losers. You need these tools. They are essential.
Okay, so here is the real heart of the issue. Look, it's inevitable that some of your stops are going to get hit. That's just part of the game. The real problem, the one that plagues so many retail traders, is that it happens way, way too often. And that's a giant red flag that the method you're using to place them is just fundamentally broken.
So that brings us to the big question. Why? Why do all these common methods you read about online just fail so miserably? Well, it's because they're based on completely the wrong idea, an approach that just doesn't account for how the market really behaves. Oh, you have seen this stuff everywhere, right? It's all over the internet. Just place your stop right below the wick of that candle. Or my favorite, using a fixed number of pips, like, oh, I always use a 30 pip stop no matter what. Or maybe just basic support and resistance. And then, of course, you've got the absolute madmen who don't use a stop at all. Let's be blunt, this is all junk information. So, what's the missing piece of the puzzle here? The one thing that all of these common, flawed methods completely ignore? It's an understanding of volatility. They just aren't taking into account how much an asset actually moves.
And this brings us to the solution. We're going to talk about the tool that professionals use to measure and account for that exact thing. It's called the average true range, or ATR for short.
So, what even is volatility? It sounds complicated, but it's really, really simple. It's just a measure of how much a currency pair, or a stock, or whatever you're trading moves up and down in a certain amount of time. Is it a calm, sleepy market, or is it having wild, crazy swings? That's its volatility.
And this is where the ATR indicator comes in. It has one job, and it does that job perfectly. It measures the average volatility over whatever period you tell it to. It spits out a number, a real data point, that tells you an asset's typical, normal range of movement.
And this all leads to a very simple but incredibly powerful rule. If an asset has high volatility, meaning it swings around a lot, it needs more breathing room. It's just common sense, right? So that means you need wider stops and wider targets. On the flip side, if it has low volatility, you can use much tighter stops and targets. You're actually adapting to the unique personality of what you're trading. Okay, so that's the theory. Theory's great, but how do we actually do this? How do we put it into practice? Let's walk through it, step by step. It really boils down to a super simple data-driven process. First, you just need to get some historical price data for whatever you're trading. Second, you plug that data into an ATR calculator. There are free ones all over the place. Third, you pop in the current price. And finally, boom. The calculator uses the asset's real history of movement to give you a statistically sound, logical stop-loss level. Let's look at a quick example here with URUSD using monthly data. You plug in the current price, the calculator crunches the numbers from the past and tells you that the average monthly volatility is about 3.3%. And based on that reality, it calculates a stop loss down at 114 and a potential target up around 130. See, it's not guesswork, it's math based on actual historical market behavior. You know, once you start thinking this way, you realize that understanding volatility, it isn't just another tactic. It is a genuine advantage. It's like having a superpower that most other retail traders are completely ignoring. So this leads to a really critical question. If you're one of those people using a fixed 30 pip stop, what you're basically saying is that every single currency pair on the planet behaves in the exact same way. I mean, does that really make any sense to you?
Of course not.
Just look at this. The average monthly volatility for Euro USD is 3.3%. But for something like USD NOK, it's 7%? That is more than double. A stop loss that might be perfectly fine for one would be absolutely insane for the other. And that is the whole point. Each currency pair, each stock, each asset, it's a different game with a different set of rules for how it moves. Using a one-size-fits-all stop loss is like trying to use the rules of chess to play a game of checkers. You are setting yourself up to fail because you are ignoring the fundamental nature of the game you're playing. And this right here, this might be the most important distinction of all. When your stop gets hit using some random method, like putting it below a candle wick, but then the price goes your way, that means your idea was right, but your method was wrong. And that is so frustrating. But when a volatility-based stop gets hit, it's telling you something way more valuable. It's telling you that your trade idea itself was probably wrong from the start. The move against you is bigger than that asset's normal behavior, which signals a real fundamental change. So I'm going to leave you with this one question to think about. The next time you go to place a stop loss, ask yourself, are you basing it on some arbitrary rule you read on a forum somewhere? Or are you basing it on the actual measurable reality of how that asset moves? Because honestly, the answer to that question could change everything for you. Thanks for tuning in.